Hello everybody, welcome back to some more Commander Showcase. Unfortunately, my webcam is no longer working, so we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. We're just going to be jumping straight in with our Commander for the week. We have Anti-Venom, Horrifying Healer, who is a 5-white, 5/5 with no keywords, but when Anti-Venom enters, if he was cast, you return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and if damage would be dealt to Anti-Venom, you prevent that damage and put that many +1/+1 counters on him. This gets really scary, especially in white. Now, Anti-Venom is one of these spoilers from the Spider-Man set, so there's definitely going to probably be some more assistance to him. The version that I'm using for this does not have the actual price on it because, as you can see, it's a little bit pricey because the set's not out. So I didn't want the price of the card itself to apply to the price of the deck, because the deck is under $52, literally right below it at $51.99. And I believe it's a little bit more expensive on Mana Pool and a hell of a lot more expensive on Card Kingdom, but that's to be expected. Anti-Venom is probably one of the most interesting cards from the set so far, in my opinion, and I was really excited to build with this. I built probably like 5 or 6 decks of Anti-Venom just to kind of work and see what I could do with it. And I think this might be the best version of it. And it also just happens to be one of the cheapest versions of it. We have, I think, about 6 different sections to go over here. The first being the appliers of modifiers. I'm going to actually see if I can get this done correctly. No, I did not. But the way that we are going to be looking at the deck here is going to be like this. So we have Step Glider, who is a creature that can give, for 1 colorless, 1 white, target creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, flying, and vigilance. Vigilance is going to be very important for this deck, providing vigilance to Anti-Venom so that way I can swing, get hopefully some block damage on it, some +1/+1 counters on it, then use other things like Step Glider and other things like Iona's Blessing, which gives him +2/+2 vigilance and the ability to block an additional creature, giving him that vigilance so he could block later in the turn, as well as being able to block more than one creature. This is going to be something that's a theme in the deck, and Iona's Blessing is going to show up soon later when we talk about blocking multiple creatures. We also have a couple of the Outlast creatures, like Asban Falconer, which gives creatures with +1/+1 counters on it flying. Abzan Battle Priest, which gives them lifelink, and Einok Bondkin, which gives them first strike, allowing us to kill pretty much any blocker that comes our way. There's also Haunted Cloak to give Anti-Venom not just vigilance, but also trample, which is just as important as vigilance, allowing us to swing in without needing to worry about being fully blocked and allowing us to get damage off on our opponents. We also have High Ground. As you can see, we have technically 7, but we have 6 here. And we could put that there as well. We have High Ground, which allows each creature I control to block an additional creature. Pretty self-explanatory. We also have Sense Tactician, which is aiming to make Anti-Venom a little bit bigger as turns progress. For 1 mana and to tap it, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target soldier, which I just realized is not a soldier, so this actually doesn't really do much for that ability. But again, each creature you control with +1/+1 counter on it can block an additional creature. This is going into the game plan of make Anti-Venom able to block literally everything that comes your way, and hopefully get some big damage off on it. We have Erdonon, who puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature when he enters, and whenever you attack, target attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it gains first strike, and if it has 2 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it gains double strike instead. This is going to allow us to, again, swing even bigger. Speaking of swinging bigger, Inquisitor's Flail is a 2 mana equipment which allows us to deal double damage, such as if we were in white or in red. But downside being that it deals double damage to the equipped creature, like say Anti-Venom gets blocked by a 5/5, he will then be taking 10 damage instead of 5. But that just means instead of 5 +1/+1 counters, we'll be getting 10 +1/+1 counters. And lastly, we have Trailblazer's Boots, which gives Anti-Venom non-basic Landwalk. Going in the next set, we have our damage redirectors. These are pretty much all just going to be like the Encore Rebels, which allow you to redirect damage from the creature to another target creature that I control. In this case, it's always going to be Anti-Venom. That way, not only do I have things such as Sen's Tactician to allow Anti-Venom to block more creatures, he's technically able to block even more thanks to Outrider Encore, Warrior Encore, Spirit Encore, Nomad's Encore, and Shaman Encore to allow us to redirect damage away from themselves and over onto Anti-Venom. Phyrexian Vindicator is a similar situation and can actually partner well with the Inquisitor's Flail, as get him to be dealt like 10 damage, and then he's going to be taking 20 and applying even more to it, allowing us to essentially double damage onto other things. Or we can even combo it with itself and like Shaman Encore to essentially bounce the damage back as much as we want before eventually sending it to Anti-Venom. The same thing goes with General's Regalia, but instead of it being a free ability, it is a 3-mana ability. We also have Pariah and Pariah's Shield, which pretty much redirects damage that's being dealt to me to the enchanted or equipped creature instead, aka Anti-Venom. Lastly, there's also Razorgrass Ambush, if I could speak, which deals 3 damage to a target attacking or blocking creature. The goal is to just swing it at ourselves. Guilty Conscience is another one that is going to deal damage equal to itself, to its own power, to itself. But in Anti-Venom's case, it's just going to deal a bunch of damage to itself, put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on it, rather than doing that actual damage. Here we are to the additional blockers. Things such as Nemesis Mask, which essentially gives it a effect that's usually in green, which makes creatures, all creatures able to block the equipped creature able to do so, or must do so. We also have things like Brave the Sands, Iona's Blessing, Echo Circlet, High Ground, Vanguard Shield, and Valor Made Real, which allow us to block an additional creature, but Valor Made Real allows it to be any number of creatures. Same thing with Entangler, which usually isn't very useful, clearly, but again, since our commander is essentially indestructible, he's able to take as much damage as humanly possible. Next up, we have our protection, which is going to be our forms of removal, such as Ravnica at War, Single Combat, Promise of Loyalty, as well as Mass Calcify, to essentially wipe the board of anything that could potentially block us when we're wanting to go for the kill without something that is able to allow us to be unblockable, such as if we don't have Sonic Screwdriver out, which for 3 mana to tap it can make a creature unblockable. We also have some of the white counterspells, such as Mana Tithe and Reprieve. You could definitely add more to it, because there's quite a few that could help protect Anti-Venom, but I decided to go with the cheaper option, which was go with things such as Loran's Escape, which makes target artifact creature gain hexproof and indestructible, Swiftfoot Boots, Timely Ward, Selfless Spirit, Restoration Magic, stuff like that, to allow us to give permanents indestructible until end of turn, or in the case of like Timely Ward, Champion's Helm, and Swiftfoot Boots, hexproof or indestructible permanently. Here are our other cards that are going to be making Anti-Venom bigger, such as Tempered Veteran, which can put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. This was initially what I was talking about when it came to the card over here, which was our Sen's Tactician. But in this case, it is able to do it onto Anti-Venom, or for 6 mana, allow us to put +1/+1 counters on any creature on our board. Then here comes Guilty Conscience, Pariah, and Pariah's Shield back as well. Nemesis Mask, Champion's Helm. Champion's Helm's here because of the +2/+2, but we have Resourceful Defense, which is a enchantment version of the Ozolith, allowing us to put counters from a permanent once it leaves the battlefield onto a target permanent I control. And for 5 mana, which is 4 in a white, we can move any number of counters from target permanent I control to another target permanent that I control. Such as if Anti-Venom were to die, I could put it all on like Tempered Veteran. And then when I get Anti-Venom back, I could spend the 5 mana to move it from Tempered Veteran back over to Anti-Venom. Plus, it's an instant speed decision, so I could always swing Anti-Venom and then move it over if damage goes through, and I can get even bigger damage off. Lae'zel is one of the only white cards that allow us to get additional counters, and thus it's an easy slot into the deck. Here we have the big one, Dawnspire, which has made Anti-Venom probably my favorite card in the set, in the Spider-Man set, because of Dawnspire's 10 station ability, which is whenever you attack, Dawnspire deals 100 damage to up to one target creature or planeswalker, as long as Anti-Venom doesn't have Shroud, which there's no Shroud in this deck. Dawnspire just gives Anti-Venom 100 +1/+1 counters. Plus, for 20, I can then make it a 20/20 itself. Here's our other support. As you can see, we have a couple of our typical Enchantress cards for white, such as Danitha and Sram, who will give us card draw off of our aura and equipments. And Danitha makes things cheaper to cast. We also have Pure Steel Paladin, allowing us to equip for free. And then we have Scholar of New Horizons and Weathered Wayfarer, which are going to be able to get us lands when we're down on our land in potentially either the early game or the late game. We also have Mangara, which will allow us to draw cards based off of our opponent's casting spells, or for them attacking us. Then we also have the Sad Robot, Solemn Simulacrum, as always, allowing us to get some more land out onto the battlefield. And lastly, we have Open the Armory, which is going to allow us to look for any of our equipment or auras, such as Pariah's Shield, Swiftfoot Boots, or the like. And that is all for the deck. Here is our mana pool. We have stuff like Temple of False God, bunch of planes, Rogue's Passage, stuff like that. And then the obvious mana rocks and stuff, Marble Diamond, Commander Sphere, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, etc. So that is all for Anti-Venom. Hopefully we get a little bit more cards to relate to Anti-Venom, but as you can see, he doesn't necessarily need it to be dangerous or to be interesting. And I'm probably going to buy this deck in preparation for that, because this is probably one of my favorite decks I've built so far. And I know I say that almost every time that this is one of my favorite decks. This is genuinely such an interesting strategy, and I honestly really enjoy mono white. So it allows me to do some interesting things and have a little bit of fun with one of my favorite colors. That, though, will be all for this episode. Hopefully soon I'll have my webcam back so we can enjoy the face in the corner here. But that is all from me, though. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. I hope you all have a wonderful day.